Hi, welcome to Personality Hacker. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge, and we're going to talk about the ENFP personality type in the Myers Briggs system, or exploration authenticity in the Genius style system.
Hey, I'm an ENFP.
Hey, you're an ENFP. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take a couple minutes to riff on the type. We've created content that goes more granular into the personality type, but we just kind of want to do an overview of this type and talk about things that maybe other people don't know about them.
Yeah, so the ENFP, again, is the exploration authenticity in the Genius style. So they lead with a process called exploration. That's the nickname we've given it here in the Genius system. And what this is about is it's really about going into the outside world and pushing buttons, pulling levers, messing with people and things, and then making intuitive connections based on all that stuff we just did. So we have a tendency to mess around a lot and mess with people and things, and sometimes get ourselves in trouble when we're going through the world. So if you're an ENFP, you've probably had this experience where you've gone out and maybe you've had a conversation with somebody and you've kind of said some things just to see what their reaction was, because you learn information that way, and sometimes you can come off a little calloused or a little crazy sometimes.
You're giving yourself permission to not be nice to ENFPs. We've been nice to all the other types during all the other videos and podcasts and
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think about ENFPs? You're not an ENFP. You tell me your perspective.
I'm going to be nicer than you.
Okay.
Because I'm married to one. And I think they're wonderful. Now, most ENFPs are going to be females. And just like you said, they lead with an intuitive process of exploration. Exploration is intuitive. And so they're leading with a process that makes them want to learn as much about the world as they possibly can, but in an interactive way. You mentioned pushing buttons, pulling, toggle switches. I've always thought about it like having a machete and there's 6-foot high grass in front of you and you are there to blaze a trail.
Yeah.
Now, because a lot of them are female, it's really interesting to see how the type plays out depending upon whether or not they're male or female. I think it actually, the gender actually alters the type a little bit, and maybe I've got that more sort of on my mind because I'm married to a male ENFP. And we haven't really talked about the gender breakdowns of any of the other types, but I think...
I'm sorry, as you were saying that about the females, I bet a word that comes to mind for female ENFPs for a lot of people is flirty.
Yeah, I would agree.
I didn't mean to interrupt what you were saying. Keep going.
No, yeah, I would agree. And I think for males it can be the same way. Actually, I think that they can be very flirty. In fact, I bet sort of the Don Juans of the past have been ENFPs. And I think that's part of what really defines them, is this highly charismatic characteristics. I think people are just naturally attracted to ENFPs. But what I think is more important than their charisma, which is oftentimes sort of what's focused on, is that I think ENFPs have a message. I think that they ultimately want to make an impact in the world, and that process of authenticity, right? Because we call them exploration authenticity. That process of authenticity is part of how they get to know what's important to them as an individual. It's part of how they create conviction and really know what their personal individual message is, whatever that is. And so that authenticity process is really important for them to develop.
However, as an ENFP, I've known this in my life, and I've seen it happen in other ENFPs. If you look at your car model, if you've looked at the Genius system, you'll understand that your tertiary process is a process that we've called effectiveness.
The 10-year-old in the car model.
10-year-old.
Yeah.
And basically what happens with effectiveness is you find shortcuts, you find ways to make things happen very quickly. And so oftentimes, as ENFPs, we'll result to those things because they work, they're effective, they make things happen. And we're pushing buttons and moving through the world so quickly that we need a lot of things to move quickly along with us. But really that growth is coming from growing that authenticity, that part of you that's really true to your core values, the authentic part of your heart, your mind, and your soul. And if you can really focus on that as your personality and grow your personality in that way, you can see yourself grow in a lot of ways that are incredible. And then you'll see other things in your life open up.
Yeah, it takes some patience, though. I think that's why ENFPs don't like to go to the authenticity process, is it takes patience, and they're just moving so quickly through the world. They don't like to have to develop that patient component. But I think that's what really gets them in touch with themselves and make sure that they show up to the world fully authentic. And in the Genius Style Assessment, we've got, if you are an ENFP and you haven't taken the test, we highly recommend going to personalityhacker.com and taking the Genius Style Assessment to discover if you are. If you have already taken it and you're definitively exploration authenticity, there's some really great tips and sort of tools and tricks and hacks that is in the premium content. In the premium content, it really goes through some really great ways to exercise that authenticity process so that you aren't just moving through the world as fast as possible and like sort of racing to your death, but you're able to discover who you are, what's truly important to you, focus on the projects that are meaningful as opposed to just sort of jump from project to project and never actually accomplish anything. There's some really fantastic tools and tips in the premium content that we recommend that you go check out and become the best version of yourself so we can all benefit from who you are.
Yeah. Now, I think you kind of hinted at it a little bit before, but what is a secret you'd say about ENFPs that most people wouldn't know?
What is a secret about ENFPs that most people wouldn't know?
I'm guessing you're going to kind of go back to what you'd said before, but maybe not. Maybe you have a different secret.
You know, I was thinking about it, and I think that the number one thing that most people don't know about ENFPs is how much leadership they desire. I think they really desire and have it within them to be strong leaders. And most people wouldn't think that because there's a sense of ENFPs, especially if they're really charismatic and always sort of messing with their environment, that they might feel a little flighty, but I don't think they're flighty at all. I think that's a ruse. I think what they really want is to be powerful, strong leaders and to take people to end game goals that are meaningful to them. I think that's their secret they're hiding.
Oh, very good. Well, thanks for joining us on this riff of the ENFP personality, or the exploration authenticity in the Genius System.